There already had been pressure on church bodies and congregations to cut ties with foreigners with concrete actions, and generally to comply with the government and the emerging ThreeSelf body. But then in October and November 1950, the process going on among Protestants intersected with the trajectory of the rapidly escalating Korean War, and everything changed. The war, which had begun as the Korean Civil War in late June 1950, in November-December became a direct and bloody contest between the U.S. UN forces and the Chinese People's Liberation Army, sent to Korea as volunteers. For the next 3 years, the conflict in Korea greatly increased the tension and pressures of the domestic campaigns being pushed by the CCP. Land reform, the campaign to root out counter-revolutionaries, later campaigns such as the 3 Anti, dealing with corruption in the party, and the 5 Anti campaign against the business class. In this highly charged political atmosphere, the Christian Manifesto campaign to secure Christian renunciation of foreign ties and a commitment to the new regime took on a much sharper edge. In early 1951, the movement to sign the document overlapped with the campaign against counter-revolutionaries, and leaders in the Protestant churches, both missionaries and Chinese, were subjected to denunciation meetings or struggle sessions in their workplace or in public venues. Although the Christian denunciation meetings resulted in few imprisonments and only a handful of executions, those chosen for attack suffered intense humiliation and trauma, as their co-workers and even family members were pressured to denounce them. This denunciation campaign was held in all sorts of Christian institutions, YMCAs, the CCC, the NCC, and others. Ironically, even 3 members of the 25-person Preparatory Council for the National Organization of the ThreeSelf, appointed in May 1951, had been denounced and purged later in 1951 and 1952. All of this was aggravated by the Korean War. Another result of the war was that the departure of foreign missionaries was abruptly accelerated. Certainly, without the war, the exodus of the foreign missionaries might well have been less unpleasant. In mid-December 1950, the U.S. government froze all Chinese assets in the U.S., which made it nearly impossible to send remittances to China from the U.S. and for those in China to receive them. The Chinese government retaliated by freezing all U.S. assets in China, compounding the near impossibility of transferring funds. There was no solution to this impasse other than the foreign institutions being taken over by a Chinese body or institution. Even as of the fall of 1950, all the missionary-supported hospitals and schools from elementary to college levels had been continuing to receive operation funds from abroad, and a large number of them still had foreign missionary personnel. Then everything changed rapidly in late 1950, with all the political dramas unfolding. In early May 1951, Y.T. Wu convened a conference of Protestant activists in Beijing. Its purpose was formally to launch the ThreeSelf as an institution in creation through a preparatory council. Wu and other ThreeSelf proponents, with Zhu's blessing, had been working for months to broaden the base of support for the new organization among Christians. He was more successful than some expected, and was able to recruit some well-known Chinese Christian leaders. Wu was chairman of the council. At this point, the title of it was Preparatory Council of the China Christian Resist America Help Korea ThreeSelf Reform Movement. An awkward title for sure, but it marked the beginning of the ThreeSelf. It is important to remember that the ThreeSelf was not a church itself, but an organization. Now it had 2 major tasks. The first was to clarify the channels of interaction between the ThreeSelf entity and the government and party structures, and the second was to persuade all Chinese Protestants to affiliate with the ThreeSelf.